My name is Nino. My students call me Coach. I've been teaching for well over 18 years in discipline arts. So I picked up, I was homeschooled, and then I picked up internships with youth theaters. So that's how I got into the idea of teaching. Thus far, all of my students are bilingual, which is the best. I grew up bilingual, Black, and Latino on the south side of Chicago, and Muslim. I identify as an Afrofuturist because I believe that in the future, there are Black families, there are Black schools, there are Black births, there are Black joy. There's Black joy everywhere. The way of working with Afrofuturism, it's not just quantum physics. It's also the idea of Black quantum futurism, knowing that there are Black children who will be in the future who they may or may not want to do coding. They may want to do something that will be sustainable for the earth. They may want to work with the land. The idea of futurism is like, if your water is bad, you can build water tanks. You can build water cleaning tanks. You can also, if you have a relative who is into herbalism, they may have been doing herbalism longer in your line than you think. You probably just haven't gotten the access to it yet. I put my friend Maisy Card probably up there in that same filing because I feel like when we think about what it means to exist in the future, I think a lot of people think, oh, well, the fashion, it could be what they're wearing. It could be, but in reality, the idea of being deliberate and unafraid is to exist. And to exist in a time where you are told that you should not, that is rebellion. That is a radical act. So I'm going to get down to it. This book is by my friend, Maisy Card. It's called These Ghosts Are Family. She writes this book telling the nature of how her grandfather, as a Jamaican immigrant, he came to the States, and in those days, if you would come into the United States and you did not have any money and you did not speak any English and you could not afford anything, you would join an army. And that's what they did. And so it's relative to my family because when my grandfather came here from Italy, his family didn't speak any English. They could read, some of them couldn't. And the trauma lines on what that means is that there are family secrets that come to a head. So for this book, she talks about how her grandfather came to the States and he was actually killed in the war. And the friend that he had shared his bunk with, who was his comrade, pretty much assumed his identity and came back. Her grandfather was not her grandfather, but when he came back from the war, he assumed the identity of her grandfather. So he raised the children. But the story goes back to say that even in family secrets, some secrets, they don't die. Some secrets just come back up to a head to remind you that this is what it took to get you here. Harlem, 2005. Let's say that you were a 69-year-old Jamaican man called Stanford, or Stan for short, who once faked your own death. Though you never used those words to describe what you did, at the time, you thought of it as seizing an opportunity placed before you by your God. But since your wife Adele died a month ago, you've convinced yourself her heart attack was retribution for your sin. So today, you've gathered 3 of your female descendants in one house. Even the daughter who thought you were dead all these years decided that you will finally tell them the truth. You are not who you say you are. You have spent the last 29 years of your second life living in a brownstone in Harlem, running a West Indian grocery store. Recently, you shuttered the store. You have given up on fighting your arthritis pain and finally sitting in the wheelchair Adele picked out for you. You are looking out of your parlor window, waiting for your daughter, the one who thinks you were dead, to arrive. It's been 35 years since you've seen her, so you study each woman who passes your home for reflections of yourself. You have not bothered to shave, press your clothes, or comb your hair. You were ready to be still and rot. You imagine the death of Stanford Solomon, unlike the abrupt end of Abel Paisley, will be achingly slow. Already it feels like you are losing small pieces of yourself daily. To you, old age is just the torture you deserve. A slow, insignificant death. Your manner dispersing into the air like dandelion seeds until the day that there's nothing left. When you died the first time, you were still a young man in your 30s who had been working in England for less than 1 year. It wasn't easy for an immigrant, especially a black man, to find a decent job back then. But through it all, a boy you'd known back in primary school, Stanford, you'd gotten room and a job on a ship. You had no idea it was just the beginning of your streak of good luck.